Hi, everyone. I am a volunteer with Organizing for Action. I started off as a volunteer back in 2011, and I wanted to volunteer because although I couldn't vote myself, I knew that there was a lot that I could do so that people would get out to the polls and go vote for President Barack Obama. And the reason why I wanted him to get elected was because I knew that he was right on issues like comprehensive immigration reform. We had the option between choosing from someone like the president who wanted to integrate 11 million people into our system and make them citizens and not second-class citizens, or the option between having someone like Mitt Romney who wanted to push for self-deportation. And so I wanted to do everything that I could so that I could support this candidate and make sure that he was reelected and was in the White House again. And so I became a volunteer. And I stayed very close with my state coordinator, Lauren Coffey, and after the election, she sent me an email saying that we were going to be working on comprehensive immigration reform and that we were going to have a really great organizer, which is Stephen, come down to Dallas and help us push this legislation forward. And so I decided that it might be a good idea for me to jump on as a fellow with OFA. And so I applied and I became a fellow, and I was able to help with comprehensive immigration reform here in the state of Texas. I am a dreamer. I was brought to the United States when I was 8 years old through really no choice of my own, because my parents wanted me to have a better future. My parents wanted me to have a good education. And so when I knew we were working on immigration reform, I decided to jump on board and do as much as I could to support this legislation. And essentially, I found a really great place in this organization. The more I talked to people and the more I shared my personal story with people about why I was here and what I wanted to do and why it was so important that we support immigration reform, the more I found that people were really interested in helping move this legislation along and making sure that this legislation was passed. And so we were able to see a bipartisan majority pass a Senate bill back in June of 2013. So then what we did when I was a fellow was then support the legislation to get it pushed through the House so that we could get a vote. If I'm not mistaken, it's been a year since that bill has passed in the Senate, and we have yet to still see a vote in the House of Representatives. But what I have also seen has been an incredible amount of support for this legislation. It is no longer a legislation that we keep on the back burner and that we talk about when presidential elections come around. It's become an issue that everyone deeply cares about and wants to see passed in both the Senate and in the House. And that's all come from volunteers like you guys, fellows who have gone out there and done the work to make sure that we pass this legislation. And none of that would have happened without people like you and people like Stephen and this great organization that has made this sort of happen for us. I don't know when we'll pass immigration reform. That's a question that I get a lot. People will ask me, are you frustrated? Are you worried? Are you concerned? You know, you are a dreamer. You are an undocumented student. Are you concerned about your parents? Are you concerned about the 11 million people here in the U.S. who have yet to see this happen? And the truth is that I am. But I'm also very aware of the growing support that we have for this legislation and of all the things that can happen, you know, to make this legislation pass. And to be quite frank, I think that none of this would happen without a great organization like this, who takes the issues that people see as personal issues and as things that really matters to them and gives them a platform to go out and advocate and support for these things and support these things that really matter to us here at home. So I love this organization. I was a volunteer, then I came on board as a fellow, and shortly after that I was lucky enough to be able to come on board as a spring trainer and work for an organization that I admire so much. And so I love this organization, and I'll continue to work and do whatever it is that I can to support legislations like immigration reform until we see them happen, until we see them pass, and until we see them on the president's desk ready for him to sign. Yeah. So.